Not quite like living in Sedona.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing here today on Conscious Business Zone with Keith Allen Kay. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. It's
Well,
wonderful to be here with you, Kathy.
oh, I'm so excited. We were just saying we want to meet each other in person. I've been a fan of Keith since 2010 when I bought Maya Mandala, and then I bought two other people their mandalas, and I've used it over and over and over again. And this man is an incredible genius, how he uses energy and he sees color. So, Keith, how did you get started in this? You were working at Disney or something? Or
I
how
was
did
working at Disney. I worked for Adobe. I worked for some really cutting edge companies
yeah.
where I was there at the right time and I learned a lot in a very short amount of time. And for years, I was a graphic artist, right? And that's one of the reasons I worked for Adobe.
Uh-huh.
And so I was, always kind of pushing the envelope and experimenting. But I would have never in a million years ever called myself an artist, right? Because graphic artists don't call themselves artists. We're graphic artists. We do marketing and websites and logos and stuff like that. So it was just a different experience, but I could feel this gift coming forth, and I started working with fractals. They immediately moved me so deeply, and and as I started experimenting, I was terrible at the beginning. I mean, I have some friends that were at the very beginning, and they say, "Well, they didn't look quite the same as they do now." Um, but I mean, because their fractals are complicated mathematics, numbers, and so in the midst of creating these fractals and realizing they were numbers, I'd been doing a lot of work with numerology,
Oh,
and so um, I started doing intention. So I would do joy, right, and I would look up the mathematical equivalent of joy, and then I would start playing with a fractal because even when you work with numbers and fractals, fractals are infinite. So there's infinite possibilities no matter what numbers you use. And so I called it like dialing in the fractal like a radio station. I would just kind of tune it till my soul like hit a note and I could feel the reverberation. And so that's how I kind of started. And then one day I was doing body work at this time, and this beautiful young lady came in for some work, and I was showing her what I was doing, and she says, "Well, can't you do those for a person?" I was like, yes, I
why not?
can, right? Like almost instantaneously, I could fill this algorithm of how I could use somebody's numerology and interject it into the energetics and intentions of the fractals. And that's how, at the time, they were called energy mandalas. Some people still call them energy mandalas. I call them fractal holograms now, a little bit more accurate. And that's how they emerged. And all of a sudden, it was like overnight, hundreds and hundreds and then thousands of people became really interested in these fractals and were purchasing them. And
Yeah.
it's at that time where I quit my job working for a marketing company, and because I just had too many orders, right? And
That's a bad thing, you know?
yeah, back then I was still very anonymous. I didn't want anyone to know who I was. I was
Yeah.
just, you know, it was really a weird environment. And so later on, I really committed and stepped in and put my name out, and then things have emerged ever since. I've kind of been on my own ever since, working on all kinds of projects, exciting, pushing the envelope, animating these holograms in really some profound ways. Created an app that's been around for a few years that people use all over the world to use in their therapeutic sessions.
Was the intentions are palpable in all of this. Oh, Cheryl Stegman says she got one done by you years ago also. So
Yay,
there are
yay.
a bunch of us that his are so beautiful is what she said. Thank you, Cheryl. Well, what I've watched is the stabilizing effect of them
Yep.
because a lot. We're in chaos now. We're in any discordant energies are being transmuted, and we're coming into flow now. And these are like tools to ground you into flow. They don't they don't ground you where you're hampered in upgrading, the releasing that things that you are not, but it's more pure light. I hope I'm articulating it. This is the way I feel it. It's quite amazing. Oh, hello, Roberto from Switzerland. We've got Switzerland here too.
Wow.
Ciao, ciao. So anyway, what I'm saying is that right now, so first of all, I got mine done in 2010. Do I need to redo it, or is this forever? My frac?
Well, let me tell you what they are. So at that moment in 2010, I tuned into you, right? Your
Uh-huh.
field, what was going on, your desires, and fractals, because the very nature of the mathematics is infinite. So this was the first thing that mathematicians had ever experienced that true to them was truly infinite. It never stops.
Right.
Now, the way we create fractals, they stop, but in their essence, they're from the infinite. And so that was a snapshot at that time, expounding your desires, your heart, your fullness, and certainly it would be completely different if you did them today. So
So
that's
I could do a
entirely
new.
possible, but your soul is not finite. You
No,
are of the infinite,
right.
and so what these holograms do is often expand the soul when we see the infinite nature of who we are, and that this finite world is just what it is, right? And like even the chaos that you mentioned, um, all artists work from the place of chaos,
Right. Right.
mystery, and shadows. In fact, all creation comes out of pure chaos where nothing's clear, and from that something emerges of beauty, right? So all these fractals, if you were to see them, the numbers, it would just be you, they were all on, I mean, you wouldn't be able to see the page big enough, but it would just be chaotic numbers, nothing. But as they're translated into images, they take shape just like the finite.
Right.
And that I believe all things are beautiful. And so your hologram expressed your beauty and essence, but there's a lot of new technologies I'm using now that certainly feel like an upgraded experience, right,
Yeah.
to what people are doing with their holograms now.
Well, the other thing that I can tell you, because I see things in a different way. I own a marketing company,
Yeah.
so I do graphics and I do websites and I do all of that. And I do intention in everything. I I,
Yes.
I weave it as clearly as I possibly can. But when I got my fractal or my mandala, it wasn't 2D. It's never been 2D. It's almost like a DNA spiral where it has depth
Yes.
and power to it. So that's why I wondered if it would upgrade as I upgrade, because there's an unseen dimension to it, almost like light language or sound
Yes.
have to it. Is that correct?
Well, it's all information. So everything that we perceive as real and matter is constructed from the field, right?
It's
This informational field that is the essence of everything, right?
right.
So when, as we're upgrading our life and our relationships, what's happening is we're allowing for new information. So let's say in someone's energy field, they have information of some bad relationships, so they may be, a little bit frightened. They may be intimidated and dimming their light to some extent because this information that somehow got into their field and they believed it because of a finite experience with somebody else. Well, when new information comes in, it allows us to literally upgrade our entire system outside of this protected, safe, because what we really long for, what our souls long for in this finite world is intimacy, connection, right?
Right.
Deep. And so often, even though we may have a relationship, there's very little intimacy. There's very connection. I love the description of intimacy. Into me see, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's where the door is, where there's an opening and a connection to be seen, to be understood. So
Mhm.
that's the doorway. These holograms are informational fields, right? So I actually are seeing them in their kind of three-dimensional realm, right? So
Right.
I see beyond it, but at some point you just got to go, okay, this is the frame that we're going to represent that entire infinite process.
Wow. Well, okay. So Zach Bergen's here. Hi, Zach. And he says
Exactly.
Mandelbrot set Zn plus 1 equals Zn plus 2 plus C with Z complex, real and imaginary. Taught this science to my students. He's a physicist. He does physics
Yeah.
at CU, so they could create fractals endlessly with color graphics. Those and Julian sets. So,
Yes.
so well, Zach, that is the physical representation. What Keith Allen Kay does is he creates these frequencies so that they can heal and support people through to get more coherent. If
Yes.
that they if this is not pretty art, it is pretty, but it is functional art that actually changes your electrical it changes your emotional body, palpably changes your emotional body so that you can live in more peace. Correct?
Yeah, and it really does two things. So first of all, it's all information, right? So like
Yeah.
when you do your graphics for your clients, the whole process you're holding an intention for their success,
Mm-hmm.
for new clients. That's all information. That's literally being absorbed into the field of that graphic, the morphic field,
Right.
and it's there. That's why, like for example, we're thumbing through magazines or we're at a grocery store. What catches our eyes? Things that are resonating with us. And even a graphic has that potential. The power of these holograms. The other side of it is that because they are beautiful and they are these majestic fractal images that our soul recognizes and understands that
Right.
language.
Right.
Whenever we see something beautiful, the experience is like this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the energy of openness, right? So that's one of the other sides, and the power of the fractals is that because they're beautiful, they open us to a greater experience of that information and being coherent so we can receive the information.
Mhm. Great. So Zach's still writing. He said, add the frequencies and we can't see, and you have a party. Says, yes, I know what he does, just chiming in. I know more than I can say because some folks can sense emotional patterns remotely,
Yeah.
meaning he can.
Yeah.
To see me through a myopic lens is not to see me at all. Oh, Zach, I encourage you to play with us. It's great. So Keith, this is what I wanted to know about the new products that you're making because they're absolutely amazing. You're using so there's lots of people doing biofeedback type
Mhm.
frequencies, and then there's people that are doing hypnotherapy and affirmations, and there's all sorts of is, but you're adding light and color, which is the other aspect, and sound
Well,
to your,
so a few years ago, I developed an app called Holophotonics.
yeah.
And the intention was because I'd been creating these animated holograms that really expanded the experience for people, right? They were dramatically, I shouldn't say more effective, but effective in unique ways.
Deeper. They're deeper.
Yeah, I mean,
Was
I'm sure all those things are
I was
true, but
crying yesterday watching one and I was like so surprised how
right,
deep.
like shocking.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I created an app full of animated holograms that all had powerful intentions, right? Like you, every part of the aspect. I was in presence with an intention that was encoded into the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so that app has been sold around the world. There's people that use it, and how they use it is originally it was just for the like a phone and a tablet, a mobile device, and they were able to plug their device in to a projector, any projector, but most people use these small, they're called pico projectors, and they could do the analysis, they could pick their holograms and then literally project them onto the body of their client. And it is an experience like you've never known, because if it's
It,
done in the right environment,
it's ancient technology. You know that, right?
yes.
It's Atlantean.
Well, fractals are from the beginning.
Right, right. But
Everything
this,
biological grows in a fractal way. So yes, that technology is embedded, and projecting those fractals onto a body. Like if there's a mirror in front of you and your face is lit up with a fractal hologram that's moving, it looks like you're shapeshifting. You your mind has never seen that, and so it creates an experience within our mind that allows us to open to a whole new experience. We're learning something completely new. Sorry about that. I thought it was all turned off. Hold on. Sorry.
that's okay.
Let me make sure it's back off again. I gotta
Me
put
too.
my
That's a good idea.
apologies.
That's all right.
So that is the kind of the experience that happens when it's projected. So I have created a new version of the app. It's now available for the computer, for um, the phone, the tablet, and again can be projected in the same way. And before, for years, it was $200 for the app, and people could use it for however long. Now I've made it a little bit more accessible, where it's $20 a month, and they can use it as long as they want, or quit anytime.
Wow. Okay. So if you're looking at it on a computer and not projecting, you still get the healing benefit of
Well,
it.
because again, it's a field, right? It's a field
Right.
of information. So, like when I start using these with people, often I'll have them pull up the fractal on their phone, and I'll have them just hold it over their wrists. Right, our wrists are such a receptive part of our energy moving through and from our hands. So, and it can be placed over the heart, but just the fact that it's playing in a room, a field, like for example, I'm seeing this picture of you, you're not here, but your entire soul is represented in this energetic field around us.
Well, the piece that's in this body is, if I don't know if you're getting my light body and everything as well.
All of it comes through the informational field, is
Oh,
what
okay.
I'm tapping into, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
that field, just because you're on my screen,
Uh-huh.
your field, as if you were here moving through this space energetically, that's what I feel. That's that fragrance of the soul, right? That is touch. So absolutely, you do not. I mean, it just is it's a spectacular effect. But actually, any way you experience the holograms, they still hold that field, and if you're open, you're going to receive that information.
So are people using these for so to accelerate healings? Like on your website, which I'll show here, there's wonderful images of a lady's back, like she's getting a massage,
Yeah,
and the patterns, the holographic patterns
right.
are on her. Are you seeing specific things happen with it? Can you?
Every single time there's healings, and even for skeptics, most skeptics that have come, because they're going, well, I want you to know, because I don't want you to hurt your feelings, that I don't believe in this stuff. I
Yeah.
said, that's fine. I said, you don't even try to have an experience.
Well,
Just be present with whatever.
right before we came on, Keith used to live in Sedona and now he lives in Nashville. So you can imagine the receptivity of the people in Nashville isn't quite the same as Sedona, where every other person's flying high
Yeah,
and is there because, and you're from Hawaii, so you came
right.
from Lemurian type
Yeah,
incredible high frequency. So yeah, I mean, so when people get these experiences, how long do they last?
Well, as long as they're open. So there's two things that happen with when you encounter an energy field, right? So there's the purity of the energy to begin with, like your pure intention,
Hmm.
right? But that's only half the equation. The other half is, are they receptive to it, right? Is there, like, for example, you're holding the energetic information of well-being and success in their business.
Right,
Let's say you're doing a logo. That's embedded in the very essence of that logo.
right,
Well, that's only half the equation, right? There still has to be a reception of that information. There's all kinds of information flowing around me right now: telephone calls, TV signals, radio. There's all kinds of information,
right.
right? But I have to be receptive. And so when somebody goes, "Oh, Kathy, I love this logo," what are they doing?
They're
They're
receiving.
they're now receiving, and that information is now affecting their field. So that can last forever, because once there's something that is agreed upon and it's
Right,
received
right.
in beauty, and it can now be there and change every single relationship from that point, and
Yeah,
success from that point.
yeah.
I mean, that's
That's
what you
the way
should
I
actually,
work
you should
too.
charge extra for your intentional work with your logos.
Well, no, that's the whole key to all of it, is the
Right.
bringing in the frequencies. And
Yes.
most of the time when I'm working, I actually get the benefit of working with the other person's soul,
Yeah.
and they work with me, and then I'm given energy to
Yeah.
embed in all their stuff. And so I've been doing that for 19 years.
Right.
So yeah,
So if it's received, it can last forever.
yeah.
It,
So it can last forever, but it seems like with our frequencies keep changing, and so much confusion. I'm calling it confusion. I'm not, I'm personally watching it as an observer. Every once in a while I'll get in it, but most of the time I'm lucky I'm out of the confusion, but
yeah.
I'm watching it. And one of the people I work with, they said, people are having, they're almost impossible to make decisions. They're so overrun with everything that's hitting them. They can't make decisions, which no decision is a decision. And
Sure.
we're talking to people that are small, they're conscious businesses
Yeah.
that have to make decisions all the time. And so what I see is these tools give you the chance to ground and be more clear, and do your sole purpose. Do
Right.
you?
And what happens is, if you can receive it and receive it for the beauty, what
Yeah,
happens is that you're opening your field up to a coherent energy.
right,
It's a patterned, coherent energy.
right,
And when we are in coherence, we know what to do.
right.
We act quicker, right? It's when we're incoherent, when we're, let's say we're out of step with the world,
Or
right? We're,
discordant,
and,
whatever.
and, and whatever, the world feels confusing and there's too many things. Da, 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 da. Well, that is always been the case. The world is full of stuff.
Right,
But when you can become coherent, you now receive the information that is important for what you are doing, your task, your success. And it's in that place, when we become coherent, that we can decide quickly, we decide effectively,
right.
and our business grows.
Thank you, thank you. Yes. Plus these are fun. I mean, it's fast fun. It's not an hour long session.
No, you can, I mean, here, I'll tell you the truth. The field happens so quickly
Yeah,
that literally 30 seconds would probably be enough. But, and I hope this doesn't sound disrespectful to what I'm doing, but there's a part of it that's like the what we call the dog and pony show, right? Where, yeah, I got to kind of be entertained for a while because I don't want to.
well, it's that, but I think also, honestly, that it has to go deep enough. The
And that's up to us. That's up to the soul.
because
So, like,
we're
you saw those pictures online with a woman laying there and this being projected onto the skin. I call that a light bath. So often I'll set up sessions with somebody, and a lot of people I'll have, they come in and they're wearing white shirt because, wear like what you're wearing right now would not. be very effective with the
Right,
projections,
right,
right? Because
right,
those colors are going to absorb most of the color.
right.
And so they'll either come in with white, or I would say the majority of people that come see me say they want to feel it on their skin, right? So I'll set up everything, set up the projections, and they'll lay down and it'll be covering their body, and then I'll leave, and they can get as comfortable as they want for 15 minutes, and then I'll announce myself, and they'll let me know when they're ready, and then but I've yet to have somebody do a session for 10 or 15 minutes that doesn't even feel physically in their body they've been altered. There's something shifting that they're physically feeling.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. And that's fast, 15 minutes. That's really fast. So Terry Wyatt's here and he says he's in the house, LOL.
Right.
And Don Lynch is here and he says, I'm randomly coherent. He's a remarkable being.
Well, that's probably true of all of us.
Well, at least he admits it. Well, that can change from moment to moment, isn't
Well,
it?
but that really is our experience. And when we realize it and we don't judge it, when I start realizing I'm incoherent and I just got mad at somebody because they took too long to make a left hand turn, I go, oh, okay, I'm
Right.
not coherent, right? So I come back into my practice and I come back, and there's no judgment. I don't have to beat myself up. I just keep moving back into coherence.
I'm on your site, and I wish I could show it on the screen, but I can't. You have a holographic healer 6-week course. Could you tell us a little bit about that, too?
That one just finished. The live course just finished, but I'm going to be making that available. If anybody's interested, I will make it available, because obviously everything was recorded and connected. Very powerful, and it really walks through some essential principles that I believe are part of holographic healing. Number one, all healing is self-healing, right? So as healers, I believe that what we do is create an environment where healing takes place.
Right.
And so using the light, using a technique I call luminescent touch, right? Which is laying on of hands. It's been around for millennia, right? Because something is absolutely exchanged between fields when we can make contact. And where it's acceptable, or I don't know what the word is, but whenever possible, I want to be skin to skin. I want to be holding their hand, their arm. I want them that, because something's actually being exchanged through our skin, which is, I believe, our most perceptive organ. I think we see, taste, touch, smell, hear with our skin along with our other organs, and that's why it's so powerful to have these holograms projected onto you.
So that class is to teach you how to use the app?
Well, the app is secondary, because you can do holographic healing without using my app at all. It's just another tool to help open the field.
Okay.
So the app is just a wonderful way to open the field, but there still needs to be a place by which we move into the infinite. It's in the infinite that all healing takes place.
Right.
It's in that realm where anything is possible. All things finite are malleable. And so when we can move and work in that realm, things can happen. We call it even instantaneous, but that's not a word, because it's outside of time and space.
Right.
It can actually, a healing, I've had many healings that, I don't know how you tangibly describe it, but it was like they were healed from before they got there. That the healing feels in their body so familiar to them that they've been healed for months or weeks or a day, right? Because it's outside of time. It's outside of that realm that we limit ourselves to in the finite.
So I'm feeling that there's a huge shift happening right now, in fact, lots of people are talking about it. You can hear that quantum science is actually validating ancient wisdom.
Yes, very much so.
About it, and there's more disclosure about our roots of coming from the stars and not coming just from monkeys without some help. How do you see this new energy? I mean, 2020, it feels like there's this renaissance. We've been in the dark ages, and that's why your work with light, I mean, your color is light, and
Yes.
I'm not surprised that it evolved from when I met you 2010 to more light
Yeah.
therapy.
Sure.
So how do you see this new time period right now? I'm
Well,
optimistic.
so I would take it out beyond. There's really not a difference between coming from the apes and coming from a star to me, because
Okay,
that still is within space time of this universe and this finite experience. Every one of us are actually infinite beings. We've never not been it, and in that realm of the infinite, there is only innocence. There's nothing else, right? Because what could you judge about the infinite? There's nothing to judge.
right.
There's not a you and an I in the infinite. There's just the presence of love in that ultimate expression. And so from that power of innocence, we can transform our timelines, our who and what we are,
Yes.
where we think we're from. We it's not a mystery. We are right now ever present in the infinite. And at any moment, and actually we do it all the time. We step into the infinite and something miraculous happens, or something miraculous uncovers itself, and yet it's just the experience that is around us at all times. So the more that we move into that realm and we move into this place of innocence, and we're not looking for a fault, or most of my work really doesn't. I'm not trying to go, oh, I got to fix their hip, right? They
Right.
may come in for that, right? But when I'm laying my hands on them, I might not even touch their hip, because if I'm moved, I might have my hand on their back and maybe their left shoulder, and I'm just acting as a conduit of life moving, and all of a sudden their hip, they're shocked because something that had been present with them forever is gone in a moment.
So I'm just realizing that you have on here that you're an author, and I didn't know. Did you write a book?
Well, that's a long story. I did a number of years ago. I had a publisher out of California contact me, said they wanted books, and so I actually created two books. One was poetry, one was a book called Outrageous Love, and the third was a deck of cards.
Oh, I'd love to see the cards.
And so I did all of this work, and I won't even tell you the name of the publisher, because there's a part of it that seems strained, but I did all the work. They even did pre-sales to all my people, and they never published a single book.
Well, I publish books, so maybe we
Well,
should.
we should talk.
Yeah,
So just so you know, I mean, so
and I can help
at
you
that
do
time, I
the
just let it go. I've just started creating, and it's going to be a part of the Hall of Photonic app. Um, there is all those 44 cards and everything I wrote about them. I've now created a small app where you can spin this deck of cards, pick one, and it
cards.
eventually will be connected to the animations and all of those things that in the resonance. So there's a few things that are working. In fact, I'll tell you. Go ahead.
That's great. No, I think that's a great way to use it. And although I have to say, I still like my cards, but I might be a generation that still likes paper. I still like books and I like cards. I use a lot of digital work. I use stuff to focus when I'm
Right.
working and everything. I use a lot of sound, and I have a Pandora Starlight. I don't know if you're familiar with one of those. It's a LED light that actually repatterns your brain
Yeah.
for creativity. So I do some of the things, but there's something about paper
Well,
still.
I would love it. I mean, if somebody wants to take on and publish that, I'm wide open to that. So, but I just want to have the other available as well for those, because I want them to use it in relationship. So imagine not only pulling a card from a deck, reading the words, the affirmations, the connections, the practice, but then also being able to have that projected onto your body. So there's just another level of absorption, and an avenue by which your field becomes receptive to the information. So
Right.
that's why I want to create that way. I would love to have them done as actual physical cards.
Well, so do you feel that the when you activate someone's field with the light on their skin, that they need to entrain the field and do it multiple times. Is that why the system is the system mostly for people like me, or are they is it mostly for healers?
Well, one of the things I believe so strongly is intuition, right? So I have created this app to be intuitive, right? So there are people that use holophotonics every single day and project it onto themselves. That's all they do.
Wow.
Um, Many of the people that use my technology have a practice, and for the first 10 or 15 minutes of every session, they have people in my light because it opens them. They're in such a receptive
Perfect.
position. They're able to receive the words, the healings, whatever they're bringing. So so the answer is yes. All of those things are possible. That it's something that, I mean, continue, because we have such a complex field, that allowing something to be reiterated and said again and again really elevates that pattern to something in our body. There's the newest and the biggest thing I'm excited about right now. I haven't actually. This is the first show that I've been on since creating this. So I've been doing research on energy medicine for many years, right? And the origins that came out of homeopathy and TFF and other types radionics, and in ways in which people were being encoded, right, with information that had the same effect as if they had taken some medicine,
Right.
right,
Right.
or an herb or a flower essence or whatever. So I have some amazing friends. Several of them are just really top level doctors that have been in the bioenergetic field for years. One of them wrote an entire book on flower essences. And so I am creating a whole new project. And in fact, there's a couple examples on my Facebook page right now, and they're being, I'm calling them holoceuticals,
Oh,
because these
cool.
are going to be encoded fractal holograms that will actually have embedded within them in several proprietary ways the actual codes energetically that activate some medicines, but certainly some wellness energies. One of the ones I was experimenting with the other day with one of the doctors um, was CBD oil,
Right.
right? And because he works in that realm, so I embedded the information as I was shown, and he had an extraordinary experience immediately. Like, oh, this is dead on, because it's still information that's all. CBD oil, if I were to rub it onto your shoulders right now,
Right.
at one level beyond the medium of the oil and interacting with your skin, it is information. That
Right.
oil is filled with information
Right.
that begins to interact with the receptors in your cell. It begins to spread like light throughout your whole body.
Right.
And that's why it can be effective if you're receptive. So that's part of the work I'm doing, is creating these experiences that do two things. It sends the information, and number two, it creates an opening. At the
Right.
very same time, it's opening the field to receive. So I'm really excited. In fact, I'll say, because I know you have some business owners and people, it's right now what I'm looking to find some investors that could help me build the app, because that's always the first expense
Yeah.
is the programming of it and keeping it elegant. And one of the doctors I'm working with has over 200 flower essences from around the world that he collected personally.
Right.
And they're
There's a guy in Ohio that I worked with, a group that were putting homeopathy into phones. This
yes,
was probably 10 years ago at least, and they had sound frequencies. So
yes.
is that what you're working with too? It's
It is sound, it is light, it is numbers. So all
mm,
of those things could, because in digital media, the power of it is you can almost imagine almost anything digitally could have hundreds of layers.
Right.
right? That you don't see, but informationally it's there. It's also can be embedded at times in the metadata of that file that's there. It's there within the field of information. You would never know it,
Right.
just by looking at a beautiful fractal. You're not going to go, oh, blah 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 blah. No, I see all those numbers because they're in the metadata. Meta means hidden, but there's layers in everything that I'm doing, and so those meta layers can be encoded with what I call what I'm because this is the realm I work in is love codes, because
Uh-huh.
that's what I believe the infinite is love, and so this coded world is love codes, and so when
Beautiful.
you can receive them, any healing is possible.
Well, and I feel like that is even in the energy mandalas.
Yes.
There's
Oh,
a
absolutely.
sense, and part of our healing as humans is the self-love healing that really needs to take place right now.
Yes.
I think that's the primary out of a sync that we have, is that we really our upbringing, if we don't release all of the training that we've had and go back to our
Right.
innocence, as you said. And innocence, I have to say, has come up in so many conversations. Um,
Is our most organic state, and so on any level when we go there, because what shame does, shame closes us down. It blocks our receptors for light, right? It keeps us hidden because we think we're shameful.
right.
When that can be released, like often in my classes I teach and when I'm working with people, I often ask the question, what if? And I always start with what if versus telling them what is, but
Yep.
it is what is. But what if nothing that you've ever done was wrong?
Right.
What if that's not even the point of the universe?
Hmm.
If you could believe that for a second, what
Right.
if nothing, not one thing, because that actually only exists. Judgment only exists on the finite realm.
Right.
Judgment does not even convey into the infinite because there's nothing to judge. It's only innocence.
So on Sunday, I was at an event with IONS, which is the International Association for Near-Death Studies, and there were several scientists there talking about this energy that we're experiencing in the world right now, that's going from the dark ages to this new renaissance. And I really see what you're doing as part of the upliftment of humanity so that they can interact in love, because that's the missing piece. If they're interacting in fear, we've got more of what we already have.
Well, what we have is just more finite life, right? I don't judge anything anymore, right?
Right.
Pain, suffering, agony, whatever you want to call it, are just experiences in love. They're actually, because Rumi said, love is all there is.
Right. Right.
That's my foundational belief, that love is all there is, and that's why I call these codes love codes, because it's coming from that essence that we've never actually ever been outside of love. The entire finite experience is encased in the infinite.
Right. Uh,
Um,
yeah.
who was it that talks about seeing infinity in the grain of a sand, right? That when we begin to start seeing that every particle speaks of the invisible, right? That's why this interaction, that's why this dance is so much fun. And I've witnessed many miracles. There was a lady. It's one of my favorite stories because it was just so dramatic to me and shocking. This is when I was doing a lot more body work, and I just started working. So this was probably around 2010 when I started working with these holograms and projecting them. And so this woman came in, I projected holograms onto her, and then I started doing body work. The kind of work I was doing was a form of lomi lomi. And so I get really lost in it and I just move because I'm not trying to fix her or heal her or anything. I'm just moving. Now, she had told me beforehand that she had terrible fibromyalgia, was taking like I think 6 Percocet
Oh
a
my
day,
God.
right? So
Terrible.
you're living on medicine that was taking her out of her field, right?
Right.
And so I said, I am happy to work with you, but you can't take any Percocet before coming, right? So we scheduled a morning meeting. She agreed, and so she was certainly moving a little slow, coming in and getting on the table and stuff. And so I just started working. I lose my, I move into the infinite when I'm working, and I'm doing my thing. I'm just being in her energetic field. She just experienced the light, and about 10 or 15 minutes in, I hear some sound like she's crying, and it just snaps me back into the
Right.
finite. Like, oh, did I hurt her? Did I,
Yeah.
did I bend her too far? Did I do something right? And she's crying, and I said, please, what's happened? What's going on? And finally, she got out of her mouth, I have no pain. Right. And then after struggling through her words a few moments, she started laughing and laughing. All right, so all of a sudden she literally jumps off the table. Her covering flies off.
Woo.
She is completely naked, and she's touching her toes. She's running around the table. She's stretching in any way possible and laughing. I have no pain. I have no pain. I have no pain. I thought she was about to run out the door and down the street, right? But I could feel, and it's a funny story, but what I witnessed, what I visually understood energetically in her field was she was overwhelmed with innocence, right? Like my grandkids run around the yard, they can be naked as the day they were born. They
Yeah.
don't even have a consciousness that that's a problem, right?
Right.
That there's any, they're just innocence.
Right.
And it was in that state of innocence that her pain was gone. And I did talk to her again. It was at least 6 months after, and she was still pain free. The fibromyalgia had never come back. She was completely changed some relationships in her life, some other things. So, I mean, this is exciting stuff. That's why I'm looking for some people that want to partner with me in creating this, because I'm so excited. I really believe this is the medicine of the future. It's what so many Einstein, Tesla, all of them saw, that it wasn't about medicines. It was about medicine. And that's why holoceuticals and holographic and ceuticals actually means refined healing. And so that's what it is. It's allowing your body to have the information it needs to put itself back into stasis, right? So
Wonderful. This is wonderful. So Keith, how what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? I've been putting up your website here, and then you also are on Facebook, right?
Facebook is a great way because you can just message me. But my Facebook page is facebook.com/quantum fractal. I
Okay,
post more stuff there than I would ever post on my website. So that really is the repository of
okay, I'll put
anything that
that
I'm working on. Is facebook.com/quantum fractal.
here. I'll put it on here too.
Perfect.
People can see. So again, you're working on making portable your work. Do you
Yes.
also do distance healing if people aren't in Nashville?
I do them all the time because I mean they're the realm that we're actually when you begin to start working holographically, you are moving outside of space and time. So you're not even dealing in histories, right? You can move through backwards, forwards in time, and certainly there's also no space, right? So when I feel them, I feel my hands on them. I feel their energy as if I was touching them myself, right? So yeah, I actually do a lot of distance work.
And is that on your website too? Or
You just have to ask me because there's so many things going on. I love doing them, but I just don't. I don't do sessions regularly, but I have people that show up in Nashville and say, "Will you do a session for me?" Oh, well, of course I love it, but it isn't what I'm doing on any kind of a regular basis because
man,
I'm in this super creation mode, and this new project feels larger than almost all the stuff up to this point. Because I mean, imagine giving true energetic medicine around the world, where their patterns are being harmonized in their body, and and their emotions and all that field, and their relationships are brighter, more intimate, and connected. So if you want a sample of one, there, if you go to that Facebook page, Quantum Fractal, just scroll down a little bit, and there are several experiments that I just created a little bit ago.
Yeah, and there was one on your Facebook page that was, I think, for love, that
That's the
felt like
one.
light language was in it,
Yes,
and it was so. That's the one I started. I had to could get myself composed for my next meeting because I watched it and
it's
it was
very
like,
intimate.
oh, what it's deep, really deep and fast.
Right. Yeah. Because it's more, it's faster than instantaneous, because it's not instantaneous. Even an instance is still within time space. But
Okay,
when we move into the holographic patterns and the realms, we're outside of time and space.
right, right.
Like we can be healing something that happened 5 years ago. Go
Well,
right
I like
there.
to do the past lifetimes and all. I mean, whatever's showing up right now, this is on our way to 5D. And there's a lot of people that are out of 3, but they didn't quite make it to 5. They're in 4. That I feel like there's a whole batch of people that this it's just a little support to have the operating system to know how to live in love. Because we weren't trained that way. So you have to release and let go of the old in order to go to that new.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So are you, is there any specials or anything for
Well, I
Christmas?
am doing my holiday special right now, and it's the one you took advantage of almost 10 years ago, where it is 3 fractal holograms or energy mandalas, whatever you want to call them, for the price of 2. So
Okay.
so if they buy 2, they get a third one, and these are great for several things. They're awesome for gifts. And if you get the digital fractal hologram, it comes with a 100-page numerology
Yes.
report and the digital hologram, and you're free to go print it. People often ask me to print them. I've got a great printing process, and a guy that does them, and really powerful. But it's more expensive. But you can print the ones that I send you, and so that's one element. Some people, because there's 3 of them, they'll do, and it actually should cost a little bit more, but I don't. If people ask for it, um, that they can do one for each member of a couple, and then they can do a relationship one where it's
Oh,
a combined. And there's actually a third numerology report about their relationship and their combined numbers. Very powerful. And so a lot of people have done that, put them up over their beds. They're 2 holograms, and the third one maybe even larger, that is really representing that they are an entity as a couple. There's an energetic field about them, so that's great. And then lastly, if you'll take a look, because these have just emerged as a whole new way that Spirit revealed for me to do some fractals, and they're just mind blowing. They're kind of circular in their shape, that anybody that requests and they get the holograms, if they request, I'll actually use that technology because it's so cool and so advanced. I'll use that technology to create their holograms. Anything I do will still look beautiful, but these new ones, if you look on my you'll see that I put a bunch of fractal holograms from this new technology on
I,
the page.
I would love to do meditations using your that holographic visual behind it. You know, where
People do it all. I mean, I've
you do a lot of custom work.
Well, yeah, because I do. I mean, I work with a lot of people that do meditations or want to do online presentations and those kind of things. So I've had some really remarkable people that have bought up to 40 of them. Right? I mean, that's not cheap. So I mean, not everyone would do that, but I have some that have bought 24 of them and use them for part of each one of their parts of their system. Or so yeah,
Wow,
people can purchase the holograms, and then they can encode their own voice over the top of it. And when they buy them like that, and usually it's a unique price, um,
custom.
it's theirs. They get to own it. They can certainly use my name and say I created the hologram, but they own it and they can sell it, resell it, do whatever they want.
And do you have an affiliate program where people can put your stuff on the site and it pushes them to you?
I have not activated that, but I probably will with these new products coming out. I will let everyone know when that's available, because I used to have that. I used to have all those technologies. It just it adds another level of administrative
I
complexity,
know.
and sometimes I don't really need that. Because I got people that come. I've got a pretty large audience in Facebook, but I am open to those, and it can be activated.
Okay, I just wondered, so if people were interested in, because there's a lot of healers and change agents
Yes.
in the audience, and so they may have another use where they'd like to. I've done this before with other
Right. I know.
people,
I totally understand.
but this
Obviously,
is
I do a lot of holograms around businesses, right? Because business has an entity and an energy all of its own. So a lot of people will use that, and then they'll use the digital maybe version for parts of their website, and then they'll use the animated to do some meditations. And they're free to do whatever they want.
right.
Many people um, resell the holograms if they purchase it in that way. They own it, right? They're the ones that own that hologram.
Well, I definitely used mine for so long. For every time I'd write somebody a birthday wish, I'd use it. Every
Yeah.
time I had my profile picture. Is that a lie?
Right, I
Yeah,
know.
I change it back and forth. So yeah, no, I love your work, Keith, and
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. And it's such a delight to watch you evolve, and bless you for the work
Thank you.
I mean, you definitely, it's very special, very powerful, instantaneous transformation work that it's time for all of
Yeah,
the
thank you.
mainstream.
Well, if anybody, purchases from the show here, make sure you email me and tell me that you heard about this on Kathy's show here. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, well, that's no big deal. I just want as many tools that can help
Yeah.
as
No,
many
I
people live
understand.
up to their divinity for people, because if people are busy working their business, they don't have time to do all the research and do all the stuff I've been doing this
Right.
for all these years.
Right.
And I like have a radar for it.
Right. No, I love it. I
Or
love it.
people find me, either way. But either
Yeah.
way, it's part of what I get to do. So
Perfect. I
I'm
love it.
very blessed. I'm so blessed to know you. I hope I get to give you a big hug
Oh,
someday.
I love it. I'm right here in Nashville. Come out and see
Well,
me.
I'm in Boulder if you want to come out here.
It's too cold there right now.
Yeah, no kidding. We just got 20 inches of snow
Yeah.
last week.
I'm not a snow guy.
I
I was
guess
born in Hawaii. We didn't have snow in Hawaii.
not. Not unless you went way up
Up on
high.
right up
Yeah.
on top of the volcano sometimes.
Uh, well, thank you, Keith, so much.
Yes.
I hope to talk to you again soon, and really bless you for the work you're doing. I hope
Thank you.
everyone in the audience will really do themselves a favor and go to his website. I'm going to show it again here, and really take a chance on experiencing, a lot of the test things are not that long. He also has the Facebook page. That's the quantum, was it quantum?
Quantum Fractal.
Quantum,
Facebook.com. Quantum Fractal.
right. And I'll put it in the comments as well. So
Perfect.
please do yourself a favor and experience this, because it will really help you on your journey. It's quite magical.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Kathy. All right.
Bye. Thank you
Bless
so
you all.